You know, it's funny being from the Cleveland area. We always have like I guess it's a sparring match over who's the worst city, Detroit or Cleveland. And so I feel you, Detroit. Like it's tough out there.
Welcome everyone to episode 119 of the Mashup, the best bourbon conversation you're going to hear all week long. We're your hosts, Stephen and Anthony. Hello, sir.
Hello, Superman. You came flying in on an intro. You like flew in like a hello.
I came from a little further back tonight.
There you go. That's nice. Glad to be back with you, kicking it.
Mm-hmm.
And I know last time we were catching up on what you've been up to.
Yes.
Rotten eggs and spoiled milk. No. But I actually wanted to tell you about an experience that you missed by, I think, a day, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it was very close.
Yeah, so a guy that I've known for a long time in the game named Andrew from Georgetown.
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned him before in a previous episode. So he had contacted me, oh gosh, I can't remember. God, what are we now? It's like end of August, into September. I think it was in July at some point in time. And he sent me a message and just said, hey, I've gotten to know the new owners of a liquor store in Georgetown, Kentucky. And I said, okay, great. He said they're going to be wanting to do a barrel pick at Bullet and hoping
it's a fun place.
Yeah, Bullet. And he said, I'm hoping that we can have the mashup come out there. And of course, I initially sent you a message and said, can you come pick? And you said, I'm going to be on the West Coast. And I was like, oh, geez.
I think it was like the day before I came home, or like I was traveling that day.
I think it was the day that you were traveling home.
Yeah.
And so, you know, obviously we have Kenny and Caleb that have been on the mashup as well. And so I had extended the invite over to them, and they could both come as well, which was awesome. And so basically, I wanted to tell you a little bit about what happened here, what transpired, because you heard nothing about this. I'll try not to be long-winded, because you know I get long-winded with my stories. Me, you know, I'm like, you know, my nickname was Mother Goose in high school. Yeah, seriously. My friends passionately called me that because they said I told too long of stories. So there you go. So anyway, I had no idea what to expect. Kenny's been on a lot of barrel picks. He's talked about that.
Yeah, he has.
And Caleb has, I don't think, been on any that I know of. And then Andrew hadn't been on any picks, and then he brought his buddies who were Jake and Brandon. And so it was 6 of us, and when we got to Bullet, which is over there in, I think, Shelby County, we also had the store owners there. And so the new owners of Bluegrass Liquor Box in Georgetown are a guy named BK, and the other one is Alan. So each of them, they're like family, and they have each a store on each end of town there in Georgetown. So that was pretty cool. And so they said, you know, we don't drink. We were like, okay, so no pressure there, right? So the owners they're not drinkers, and they wanted us to, you know, help them select a barrel. And it turns out it was their first barrel that they're ever going to have from their own, you know, stuff from their store. Like,
fun.
I don't know if they bought anything from the previous owners or anything like that. And so going into this completely blind, not knowing what to expect, we took like a distillery tour first. And then we came back, and, you know, we were on like a bus, 8 of us. Then we got to come back to the actual area of the distillery where we walked down these steps, and there was like a table set up for us. It was really nice. They had notebooks and everything. They had pre-poured 4 different barrels for us. So it wasn't like we got the thief out of the barrel or anything like that. It was a pre-pour thing, and we saw all 4 of them sitting around a table, and we got to sit and taste and talk about these different barrels. And I thought it was a great experience, man. Like, we had a ton of fun, and we ended up picking something I thought was pretty darn special. So go ahead.
Review this?
No, because it's not out yet.
I mean, when it comes out.
When it comes out, we're definitely going to review it, because here's what happened. Like, you can influence one another when you're tasting and everything like that. But I can't remember which one of us it was. I'm going to say it was me, because I want to be the hero, you know. But Kenny will probably say it was him. Like, next time we record something with him, he'll probably have a different take. But we were all nosing, and all of us initially caught one that was very off profile. So of the 4 glasses, one of them just did not smell like the other 3. And so we were like, you know, everyone kind of focused on that one. And the more we nosed it, the more we tasted it, it almost had like a vanilla custard flavor to it.
Smells pretty good.
Yeah. Smell and the taste. And it was just out of this world. It was like a spicy backbone. And we weren't really worried about anything else. We were just worried about, like, okay, now that we know which one we like the best, where are the other competitors at? Who can we eliminate? And between the six of us, I thought it was a really great experience. Like we had a good time kind of vibing off one another, tasting, talking about the notes we were going with. And I think we picked a winner for them. And so I think that bottle will be available in October at some point in time. You know, it's not often that we plug like just a random store that we don't really have any connection to, or that we haven't shopped at a lot. But I think you're going to want to check out Bluegrass Liquor Bucks in Georgetown when that barrel pick comes out.
Speaking of picks, we have another review.
So this review comes to us from Bourbon Adam. That's Adam like the person, like the man, Adam, right?
Versus what?
I don't know. I what I was thinking there. It was like a superhero. What am I talking about? I don't know what I'm talking about.
You're not talking about like Adam like a cell, are you?
Oh, Adam. That's what I was thinking of. Yeah, like Adam. Like, yeah. So Adam. So, hey, Adam. His title of his review is Fantastic Podcast. He said, this has become my favorite podcast by far. Listening to you guys describe what your tasting notes are for specific bottles has been almost a guided tasting at times. Wow. Ooh. High compliment. He said, other times, they have been warnings to definitely pass on certain bottles. And he talked about the Bernheim, he said single barrel episode, but I think it was the Bernheim barrel proof stuff that came out recently, which he's referring to, which we didn't like that. So, yeah. So then he said, keep up the great work. So that's great. We appreciate that review, Adam.
Thanks, Adam.
Yeah, no doubt.
And if you'd like a shout out, just leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. The next time we record, we will give you a shout out. Anthony, it sure looks like you brought me a Dusty today.
It does, doesn't it?
Really does. But it's not.
Are you sure?
I don't know.
It has a bottle date on it, so yeah.
Nothing gets past me.
Woo!
So for this week, we have a bottle of Mayor Pingree 7-year cask strength bourbon whiskey.
All right. So I have to quickly mention how we got this bottle. So this is the bottle that Andrew brought to the tasting for us. He said, wow. You know, one thing I'm going to mention, and I'll mention it again here at the end, is Andrew's a big fan of the podcast. He's been a supporter since the beginning. Yeah, we appreciate that. And when he involved us in this barrel pick, which was ultra nice of him as well, at the end, he handed me this bottle of Pingree and said, I want you to review this on the podcast. And I said, that could be dangerous. And he said, I want to hear what you guys have to say. So I said, all right, okay. So this Mayor Pingree 7-year cask strength bourbon whiskey comes to us from Valentine Distilling in Detroit, Michigan. The bottle date is 2022. The ABV is 59.4%, proof being 118.8. The age is 7 years. The mash bill is, well, I couldn't find a mash bill because we'll talk here in a second about the fact that this brand cut its teeth on MGP. But the MSRP on this bottle is $79.99.
Wow. So this looks very dusty, like I've already said. It's got embossing on the upper part of the neck.
Right.
The label itself looks like it's from 1800.
It's got that like off like old age.
It's got
like
a cream with a red, and the font they use is super old looking.
Yeah.
There's some numbers on here, but what I really want to focus in on is why is there a 1960s Playmate centerfold kind of as like a watermark on the back of this label here.
Hey, wait a minute. I don't know if I saw that. Hey, oh, wow. Yeah. Who's that?
She kind of like is in the top corner, and she kind of has like these bunny ears on or something.
Yeah, she's
kind
of
wearing like like those old like black like one piece. What bunnies would wear back in the day for Playboy.
Bro, why are you getting all hot and bothered over there? Look down below the Pingree here. There's her legs.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, you didn't see that. I didn't see that.
Yeah.
I saw that.
Which leads us right to the number. So this is cask strength.
This is cask. Yeah. Yeah. Dynamite dropping.
Yeah. So 7 years, huh?
Yeah. Good whiskey takes time.
The bottle is like it's super thick, I think, and it's got a nice black cork. That's actually cork.
Is it synthetic or it's actual cork?
Synthetic.
Okay. All right.
But I can't get over how old this bottle looks. And there's nothing else on it besides a couple front and back sticker and a single barrel beverage warehouse selection.
Yes.
But besides that, it just looks really old.
It does. And I don't know that I have much more to add to this other than saying that you mentioned it's a single barrel pick. They do have the non-chill filtered on here, and they have the signature of their president and founder. And I don't know. It's kind of like the Valentine Distilling embossing on the top half of the bottle is as big as the label.
It is.
So, but the label itself
looks
is
good,
raised. Yeah, it looks nice. It does look old though, like you said, which is pretty cool. And I kind of might attribute that to my midwestern sensibilities. So you guys know I'm from Ohio, and there's this distillery. I said Detroit, but it's like Ferndale, which I think is a northern suburb.
It's very
of Detroit,
saloony.
So, yeah, very saloon. Yeah, it's a throwback.
It is.
It's called a throwback. So Mayor Pingree bourbon is something that I didn't know a whole lot about. Had you ever heard of it before we had this tonight?
No, never.
In fact, until Andrew gave us this bottle, I had only seen people buying this on, enthusiast pages, as we often say. And when I inquired about it for the first time, I realized that they were sourcing some really well-aged MGP, like a lot of brands. And so I wasn't really sure what to make of it here. But they do have a stock product, which is their regular red label whiskey, which is aged at least 5 years. And that's their core product that they have put out. They triple pot distill their bourbon, which, we talked about column stills versus pot stills being a little bit different distillation process. So this particular product is interesting because it's named after the person who is the mayor of Detroit from 1890 to 1897.
It's very specific.
It is. It's his name was Hazen S. Pingree,
and just rolls off the tongue, doesn't it?
It rolls off the tongue, and I was going to say, as we're laughing over here, he's widely regarded as one of the best mayors in Detroit's history, and Detroit's been around for a long time.
I mean, they have to go all the way back to 1800s, huh?
That's right. And what are you trying to say?
I'm just saying.
It's funny being from the Cleveland area. We always have I guess it's a sparring match over who's the worst city, Detroit or Cleveland. And so I feel you, Detroit. It's tough out there. And so he's considered to be one of the best mayors in U.S. history. And he was also a champion for fighting monopolies and corruption, which is good, right? Because we want to fight monopolies and corruption.
Okay.
And he was also a shoe man, a man after my own heart.
Ah, the old cobbler.
Yeah, an old cobbler. So apparently, this guy was like a Renaissance man. He was fighting for the Union in the Civil War,
and then he was in a back alley shop fixing people's soles and heels.
I think he waited till he was out of the war.
Okay.
And then when he moved to Detroit, he became a very good shoemaker. He was a cobbler. He was a good one. He was a wealthy guy.
Is that a common post mayor job?
I guess so. If you think about it, though, it's not like it is back in the day. I think it was you got a pair of shoes and you really had to rely on that pair of shoes, you're getting them fixed and stuff.
So there was this guy in Lexington downtown.
Okay.
That I think he cobbled shoes, I'm going to say 60 years or something. And everyone took him. I don't think he's changed his prices in 50 of those years. Okay. And everyone took their shoes there to, I guess, fix. Okay. And then he retired just a couple years ago.
Did he?
I think around COVID time he
Do
retired.
you know if he retired into Antigua or something?
All of his equipment and cash register, I think were from God knows when.
Oh man!
So
you're telling me we had an old timey cobbler over here that was like Pingree?
Yeah.
There you go. Perfect. He was an all man, right? He did everything. He was cobbling the shoes. He was making policy. He was fighting corruption. He's just he's the man of the pre-Motor City Detroit, and so that's all you need to know. And that's a namesake they picked for this bourbon.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, with those fun facts out of the way.
Oh, God.
Should we go for our first news?
Let's do it. Oh, my God. It's corn.
You know what's interesting, Anthony? When you first brought this bottle down,
yep,
it's already half gone, right? The bottle.
Right.
And I took the cork off of it.
Yes.
And I sniffed it. And there was absolutely nothing that came to my nose. Maybe a slight pixie stick.
Okay.
That's all I could nose. I mean, there was no ethanol. There was no wood. There was just nothing. Mm-hmm. So it's a little different now that it's in the Glencairn.
I agree.
You get the heat right off the bat, I think. Mm-hmm. Right?
Well, it does almost 120 proof.
Yeah. But it's just crazy that in the bottle, none of that was coming through.
Right.
I mean, absolutely nothing. I put my nose in there and it was just air.
Right. So I'm getting some very specific scents now. And the one that I'm going to say, which is really strange, that it just came to me now is, you ever get those oatmeal packets, like the instant oatmeal packets, Quaker Oats?
Cinnamon sugar?
Yes, not cinnamon sugar. I'm talking about specifically the strawberries and cream.
I usually go cinnamon sugar, but I know about the strawberries and cream.
Okay, yeah. So strawberries and cream is my jam. That was the one.
They also have the dinosaur eggs if you're ever interested.
The dinosaur eggs?
Yeah, there's dinosaur eggs version.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No shit.
They've been around for a while.
Okay.
There's a guy in my office that used to have it a lot.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that used to crack me up. I was like, how old are we?
So, exactly. sugar and oats.
That's basically what it was.
Getting the notes of sugar and oats. So maybe a little grainy. But the wood is interesting in this. It's it's almost like wood esters. So it's not like well aged or seasoned oak. It's almost like a little leaning on the younger side a little bit.
I agree. Yeah. When you were saying that, I was getting that. Besides getting my nose getting scorched or singed from the ethanol.
Yeah,
I agree. It's kind of like a dry wood. So besides the caramel note I get, I feel like there's a dry leaf in there. I don't know if it's tobacco, but I feel like I'm getting some sort of dry, crispy scent.
I agree with that. Maybe it's just like a dried out forest or something. You know, it's the lumber, the terroir of the Michigan region. Maybe it's Detroit in the glass.
Maybe it's fall.
There you go. It's fall. That stuff matters, like water and climate and all that stuff. So, all right. While we're nosing here, I wanted to tell you guys that actually Mayor Pingree, or Valentine Distilling, actually has a longer history than we give it credit for. It was founded in 2007, and their first bourbon that they bottled was called Woodward Limited. So maybe the wood. You think it's got to do with the wood here?
There you go, maybe.
That might be it. And that was bottled at 88 proof, and it looked like the Pingree bottle, but apparently that was their first thing. But like a lot of brands, their success is traced to our wonderful, good old, you-know-what.
Our friends in Indiana?
Yes, sir. So the people in Indiana, when I said earlier in the episode they cut their teeth on this particular, on this brand, is because they were actually sourcing some really well-aged stuff. And so I actually told Andrew we were going to be doing this episode, recording it, and he sent me a picture of a Black Label 15-year Mayor Pingree, and I went,
wow,
what is that? And he said it's 15-year MGP. So I was like, holy God. And so now I know he gave us this bottle, not that one. No, I'm just kidding. But so that's kind of where they got their name. They have a blue and black label also associated with the brand. The one we're drinking tonight is Red Label.
Yeah, I guess it's red.
Yeah, so I think the black and blue are both contain MGP juice. And then I think when they originally put their first distillate out, they were mixing their own stuff with MGP to create like a small batch blend.
So we've seen over the years and episodes that, distilleries will source MGP, right?
Right.
And then at some point they decide to come out with their own juice, right? It's always interesting at what year they feel comfortable with their own expressions.
Right.
So we've had some that come out of 2 years, 3, 4.
Bad idea.
Right.
Bad idea.
Don't do that.
Yeah. Usually not good.
So here, the mayor with the centerfold in the background.
Oh, yeah.
They came out at 5. And now this is a 7-year.
Right.
So curious how, what their idea of it now is. That I guess they didn't have a 6, right? So this will be their second bottling, I guess.
I think so. And I'm not super versed, but I did a little bit of the Googling beforehand. And I did see more 7-year. I don't think I saw any 6. So you're onto something there. So maybe they just waited longer to get into bottling that stuff. And I also noticed that if you try to find in the ultra age MGP stuff, it's really expensive.
Yeah.
So there seems to be kind of like a little bit of a method to the madness there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, interesting. Okay. So
good.
So let's go ahead and just taste this then, because I'm interested now with the age.
All right.
And their own stuff, what it tastes like.
Sounds good.
Let's go.
Is it going to be delicious?
I've got thoughts right off the bat.
Okay.
This is 7-year.
Right.
Why does it taste like a 3.5-year-old?
It's funny you should say that, because I actually thought that if you like grainy, and when I say if you like grainy, this actually has a lot of grain to it. And you think that maybe could be because of the climate? I mean, I'm assuming
Michigan, right?
Yeah, I'm assuming that they're aging there. I don't know.
If their warehouses are up there, right?
Right.
That climate, they have a longer winter, I would imagine.
Oh, yeah.
Harder winter than we have down here in the South.
1,000%.
So the wood pores are not going to open up as much as the South, right? They're going to stay closed tighter during those winter months.
Absolutely.
Really constricting what that liquid is going to go in and out with the char, and mixing with the char and the barrel and the wood and the flavor and all that stuff.
I'd agree with that.
And just the environment too of the other plants in nature blooming and not blooming. And
sure.
So now that we've tried this and it's 7 year and we're saying it tastes like a 3 or 4 year old, very green product.
Right.
Is that because of that? The climate change.
It might be. I mean, the one thing we don't really know is the mash bill, but we also don't know about relative humidity, a lot of things that impact the aging of bourbon. But I think you're definitely onto something there because it does seem like it tastes a little bit younger than it would otherwise. But I do have to give it a little props because I think I got to go back and check my mental Rolodex. But some of the craft we've tasted at 4 and 5 years old definitely tastes too like grassy, too young. So when it comes to the flavor of this, where we've tasted some other craft that's like 4 and 5 years old, and it kind of like is a little bit worrisome. When I say worrisome, because it tastes extremely young. This
like why releasing it.
Yeah, this does have more developed flavors. And so what the best way to describe this is, but it's actually very sweet. It's very corn forward.
It is corn forward.
Yeah, and like it actually has a nice sweetness to it, but it has a little bit of that aftertaste, which is like I've described it in many different ways. When it's a wheater, I describe it as stale bread. Now it's a traditional bourbon. I'm assuming it's traditional high rye bourbon. What is interesting is it doesn't have a lot of spice, but it has like a weird.
It has a heat to it though. Has
heat.
Yeah.
But it has like a weird back end, like flat note to it. I don't really know how I would describe that, but it's not bad. Let's put it that way. So
how are you personally getting past the young taste to it?
Well, I would say that sometimes when you taste, like, you know how you hear people say like, oh, there's folks that want to taste oak and they want to taste age. And then there's other folks that want to taste grains. And if you want to taste grains, you'll be really, I don't know why I'm using this voice, but it's fun.
Well, if you want to taste old timey, kind of like the bottle.
Old timey, have the grains. Well, this to me is a good representation of a grain forward bourbon that actually does not taste bad. Some grain forward, like I said, is either like stale bread, moldy grass, very green. I'm not getting as much green as maybe you're getting. I don't know. I'm getting a little bit more in development of the sugars, the wood sugars and things like that actually are not. I'm liking it the more I sip it.
Does this drink hotter than 118?
I don't think so. But I don't know if I'm just, to me it doesn't, but I don't know. I think that I've noticed something. You're not, what high proof bourbons, I'm thinking like, what high proof bourbons have you actually liked that we try? I think you got a sweet spot of the proof that you like. I kind of am all over the place, but I think you have a sweet spot of the proof you like.
I think it's just a matter of how well it's aged, right?
Yeah.
Like if it's 130, 140, but it goes down smooth.
Right.
I don't mind drinking it.
Yeah.
But if it's like a hard 110.
So you're getting a hardness to this, what you're saying?
Yeah.
I get that.
Different animals.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I don't mind the heat, the warmthness of it. It's just as long as it's smooth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. So Stephen, as we're talking through tasting this Mayor Pingree, Old Ping, I think it's Old Ping. I think that's what his nickname was. Anyway, I'm thinking about the fact that fall bourbon season is here again. And last year, already. I mean, it seems like it just crept up on us. Last year, we talked about what our expectations were. I know that you mentioned you wanted to get a little book, and you actually did get one, and we tasted it just recently, which was a lot of fun. So just give me your thoughts on fall bourbon release season and what you're looking forward to and what you're hoping to get your hands on.
Well, by default, I always want a WLW.
Okay.
But
me too.
Those never happen.
Yeah.
So, I mean, seriously, ever since I saw that email from Makers, I want that bottle.
Yeah, still thinking about that.
I'm still thinking about the bottle. We've been talking about it for years.
Right.
I want that bottle.
You know what's funny about that? Like, we talk about all the ones that come out as being like what we're going to chase. But that bottle, I think, is worth chasing.
Yes.
And I think it's worth chasing, like, even if you don't like it, sacrifice something else. Like, if you had a store owner that said, like, hey, I got this, but I got this. If they pull out Little Book or Makers, what are you going to take? You're probably taking the Makers, right?
That's interesting. Like,
I'm wondering there.
What's the quantity of Makers going to release?
I don't know. I don't know what Makers is doing. The other thing is like, they're supposedly, the way they did this was they were taking regular barrels that they had aged in for like 6 years.
Yeah.
Then they're moving them to a place in the warehouse where they don't age as fast. To mellow them, I think, is their point, right? To mellow, so you have like a mellow weeder at 11 or 12 years old.
Gosh, I'm excited.
Yeah, I mean, that's just really damn exciting. Like, yeah, I mean, I agree.
We always said if they came out with like a 12-year, it would kill everyone.
Absolutely.
and I kind of want to put my money in my mouth. You know what I mean?
If we get that's the mission. We got to get that bottle.
I want to review it.
Yeah, not only do we have to get it, we got to open it as soon as we get it, review it.
I want that bad boy to breathe.
Yep.
I want to review it.
Yeah, I agree.
And enjoy it.
Yeah, me too, man. No, I think that's a good one. And I'm like,
yeah, I think that would be my top because I don't get out as much. So if I can get that one, I feel pretty happy.
Well, I'm gonna, we got to work together here. So I'm hoping that maybe I can locate one of those, help you out, help us out, and see if we can get our hands on some of those makers. But for me, it's actually interesting because I wanted to hate this release as much as I could back when it released a couple of years back. But King of Kentucky has emerged for me. I know you don't like that one as much. We tasted it, we reviewed it. That's emerged for me as one of my top of my list of wanting to get every time it releases, and it usually should release sometime this year. Knowing that I'm going to have a hard time getting a Van Winkle or a hard time getting.
Honestly, those don't
all those things are
much.
like, those goes without saying. Like, if we can get our hands on any of those, we're going to pick them up, right?
Yeah.
But when you talk about like the myriad of special releases that are coming this fall, I know we don't talk about each of them, but there's a whole bunch of things that you could be on the lookout for. But there's a couple of things that like I think are extremely special, and we're gonna get you that Makers, brother.
Oh man, I'm gonna have money already sitting on the counter for it.
Well, if I find that Makers, I'm charging you secondary for it.
What do you think secondary would be for that?
I have no idea, honestly.
So it's going for $150.
Well, I guess it
retail. You
know what? I've always said this, and I've said it for many years.
I mean, there's nothing of Makers on secondary, is there?
There isn't really anything on secondary, but here's how it's going to determine whether there's a secondary. People are going to taste it, and they will speak accordingly, right? We've made jokes about Penelope Rio. Mm-hmm. Penelope Rio is an $85 bottle, but it sells regularly for $250 because enough people like the way it tastes, and they're willing to pay $250 for it. Everything's always worth what people are willing to pay for it. So if Makers comes out the gate and gets a lot of excellent reviews and people love it, then the sky's the limit. It could be a $300 bottle, at least double.
Yeah.
But if it's just okay and people say, oh, it's just okay, or if it's abundantly available, like it's sitting everywhere, then it might be easier to get. And if it is, hey, who's going to argue with that?
Right. So, Anthony, would you pass, try, or buy on the Mayor Pingree 7-year cask strength?
It's the price for me on this one, right? So this is $80 for a single barrel. If I'm going on price alone, I'm probably going to pass. Mm-hmm. But I will say that for a little bit more of a grain forward profile, I did really enjoy drinking it. So I'm really just going to say I'm going to go a try minus on this one.
Okay. This is easy for me.
Okay.
$80. Yeah. It tastes like it's a 3-year-old. Had some interesting notes, but I did not enjoy the tasting of it at all. So I'm a pass.
Oh my goodness. Oh no. Okay. Well, I'm gonna have to circle back with Andrew. He might never invite us on another pick again, right? Yeah, we didn't know, but he didn't make this or anything. He just wanted us to try it, and I think giving our honest opinions, and that's what this podcast is about, right? We just give our honest opinions.
It's a nice new avenue to explore, and I appreciate that.
Exactly, and I just will say this: the first time I met Andrew was buying some bottles off him in the parking lot up in Hamburg, and we joked about like getting together for drinks and everything else. And so now the fact that we've done a barrel pick together, he was cool to have that kind of interaction with our people, and we'll look forward to more.
Before we leave, a couple of my neighbors had birthdays over the weekend.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, back to back. So
nice.
So him and his wife went out to Jake's Cigar Bar.
Okay, yeah, here in our backyard.
And had some cocktails, and then went out to dinner.
Okay.
And then we're going to do something else, but because the cocktails were so good at Jake's, they went back after dinner.
Oh, nice.
And so, I think I need to get back to Jake's and try some of these cocktails they have there.
Yeah, I think so too. And in fact, that's a good plug for someone who's right in our backyard and has a excellent. It's like if you come to Lexington, you got to go to Jake's, right? Yeah, no doubt.
And with that, thanks for listening to this week's edition. Please like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at The Mashup KY. Also, let us know your thoughts and spot in the comments section.
Don't forget to visit our partner, bourbonoutfitter.com. Enter code The Mashup for a special discount.
Until next time, keep it neat.